Welcome to the Radical Responsibility Revolution podcast. This is where we are transforming lives, inspiring you to reclaim your health, your wealth, and the power of your mind. Here we share actionable insights, inviting you to turn inwards and design your life of purpose and abundance. So, welcome to the first episode of Radical Responsibility Revolution for 2026. Today, I'm going to start off by talking about money because it is the thing that I've shared in my book and on every podcast I've ever spoken on. It's the most important relationship that you have. So, why is that? Stay tuned. So, the first thing I want to say is money isn't magic. And it's yours for the taking. And I'm so, blown away by all of this conversation. And I've done multiple podcasts on the welfare state and giving people money and taking away their dignity. But I want to share with you how you can take ownership of money in your own life. And it starts with this idea that manifestation advice has been lying to you. Why? Because money's not magic, it's a frequency. So I'm going to say something that might make most people, or you particularly, uncomfortable right out of the gate. There is this hidden, if you will, universal principle governing your relationships, your money, your health, and even how exhausted you feel at the end of the day. Now, I want to talk about the reason that it's hidden is because it's on the quantum level, right? We are so 3D people. It kind of cracks me up a little bit that we have to have something that represents something that looks like us as a human. When the truth is, the energy that we live in, you can't see the wind, you can't see gravity, but we all know that it exists. When I talk about it being hidden, it's just because you can't see it. So I want to start with that premise. It's not magic, even though I call myself the queen of magic, and things appear to happen magically, but definitely it's never going to happen with wishful thinking. So I want to get that conversation right out of the gate out there. There is as Ernest Holmes said, there's a power in the universe bigger than you, and you can use it. So what the heck does that even mean? Well, it's called frequency. That's it. That's what I talk about all the time now. It's not about a mindset. It's not about things that you do, which it does include sacred action, but it's a frequency. And before anyone clicks off thinking, oh, great, another woo woo manifestation video, stay with me because I'm about to lovingly dismantle about 90% of what the internet has gotten wrong. I talk about this because the internet is where most people get their news from these days, their education. It's now chat, it's the Google AI. And it is so important to really understand the information that you're actually getting that actually does work. And I get a little bit fatigued with people that are marketing because this isn't a marketing video. This is a educational informational video so that you can learn how to create the life of your dreams. And does it happen overnight? Probably not. But let's talk about that. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to attract opportunities without forcing them? Then there's other people that just work themselves into the ground and still feel like they're pushing a boulder uphill with their nose. Same effort, very different results. So I'm going to share with you why that is. And more importantly, how to stop outsourcing your power to vision boards, affirmations, and magical thinking, and actually become the signal that life responds to. If you were the beacon and the signal, and you were able to bring everything that you desired into your life, who wouldn't want that, right? That's what I'm talking about. So the first thing I want to do is debunk the woo-woo myth. I've been calling myself woo-woo since the 70s because science hadn't caught up with woo-woo. I now say that woo-woo is just science because here's the first thing we need to clear up. The universe is not solid. So I want to say that again. The universe is not solid. I knew that when I was in grade school growing up. The universe is not solid. So everything that we see that we believe is solid isn't. The chair you're sitting on, the empty space, your body, energy, your thoughts, none of that is solid. It's all just energy. Einstein said it way before I was even born. Everything is energy. That's it. So I could stop talking at this point because it's just energy. What is that energy? Your emotions have energy. Actually, they're highly charged energy. And this isn't spiritual fluff. This isn't woo woo. This is basic physics. And what I love about physics right now is that there's so much scientific advancements that are allowing us to see that it is just energy. And it's at the smallest measurable level that everything is vibrating. So this isn't going to be a quantum physics lesson, I promise you. But you have to have this foundational thought that everything is this energy that's operating at this frequency at a place where you cannot see it because we're so stuck on this 3D five senses that we get lost in it. And then we believe that that's our reality. So if everything is vibrating and everything is in motion, nothing is static. And how do we tap into that energy field? So, as I said, I'm not going to turn this into a quantum physics, quantum mechanics lecture, but I want to debunk the lie that science and spirituality are at odds. They're not enemies, they're describing the same reality from different language. That's it. So here's the aha that most people miss. Listen up, lean in. If everything is energy, then your inner state isn't private. It's broadcasting. Now, I want you to hear that. Your inner state is not private, at least not to the universe at the quantum level. It's always broadcasting. So that's why I say believe, become, and then broadcast because you're always broadcasting. You're always broadcasting. What are you broadcasting? If you're broadcasting, that means manifestation isn't about wanting more. It's about matching what you want with your broadcast signal because it's the broadcast signal that says, this is what I expect. It's really a simple equation, but we make it so darn hard because we have all of our beliefs and our limiting beliefs and our judgments and am I okay, am I not getting rewarded and punished, and all of the crazy conversations that go on in your head that you think are private, but they're not private to the universe. And that's where most people get stuck. They don't realize that their thoughts are not private. We think they are, but they're not, because you have this inner radio station, this frequency that goes up that says, this is my thoughts. And I want to debunk this myth about toxic positivity because it isn't about being positive. I want to talk about frequency in a way that actually makes sense. If you think of yourself like a radio station and your thoughts are not private, whatever you're tuned into is what you receive. So here's where manifestation culture goes way sideways. People think frequency means I have to be positive all of the time, but your underlying feeling is not that way, right? You can be positive on the outside. If your internal broadcasting system is not, you are going to get that. So, this idea of being positive all of the time, it's just emotional repression and it's dressed up as spirituality or something else. This toxic positivity will never create what you desire because your dominant frequency is not what you post on Instagram, by the way. It's not what you're showing the outside world. It is not. It's what's inside. So, this is an inside job. You have to reflect on what is going on inside, not about what you're showing up on the outside as or anybody else's outside. So, when you rehearse internally, and no one is watching, that self-talk that says you're not good enough, I'm not worthy, I'm too fat, I'm too this, I'm too that, I'll never be blah, blah, blah. The emotional residue that you carry through the day is the story that you're telling the universe about money, about love, about time, about your own worth. And that is where trauma matters because you're carrying it with you and you cannot put lipstick on that pig, I promise you, and expect that something else is going to happen outside of you. Your beliefs, your internal beliefs matter. It's those private thoughts that you think nobody's paying attention to except for you. When you really are honest with yourself, those are the things that are broadcasting out into this universal field. So any unprocessed emotion will jam the signal. You've got to look inside. That's all this is. It's an inside job. And you never raise your frequency by pretending everything is fine. You know, that fake it till you make it, that can go so far. But the thing is it has to be the truth underneath. You raise your frequency by telling the truth with compassion. So your awareness is your dial. You have to tell the truth. What am I feeling right now? And how can I shift it? Because if we don't tell the truth with our own compassion for ourselves, we just keep putting lipstick on that pig. You can't be in denial about this. It doesn't change anything if you're still in denial about what's truly going on inside. So, how do you actually shift the dial? How do you tune in the frequency that you desire? Well, it doesn't have to take years, but sometimes it does. I mean, this is the thing is that this is an inside job and it's how willing you are to participate in that shift. And it's like going to the gym. Listen, it's the beginning of the year, the gyms are going to be packed, people stay for 2 weeks and then they give up. And if you're consistent and you're committed to yourself, life will shift and change. But if you give up just like you do what most people do at the gym, yeah, that's what you're going to get, the results. So here's another myth I want to lovingly torch. Shifting your frequency takes years of healing. Nope. You know, I think it's so fascinating that we put a time frame on everything. You know, this whole conversation takes 21 days to change a habit. It takes this many times to do this long to do that. It happens and it can happen in a holy instant. This is what I love about Course in Miracles, if anybody's ever read that. But here is the problem is that we are avoiding our patterns. So that's why it takes a while for some people. When you stop avoiding your patterns and once again look at them with this compassion of, oh, that's why I do that. That's the payoff that I'm getting from that. And say, I'm not needing that payoff anymore because all of those payoffs came from a very long time ago. You created these beliefs generally speaking, when you were not old enough to know better. And when you begin to meet them honestly, these patterns, things will change faster for you, just like going to the gym. And then you build that muscle. And when you build that muscle, the muscle can burn fat, which is what we're trying to do is burn off some of this fat that we've been carrying around, which is called our luggage and our baggage from life past. Small shifts. But you have to start becoming aware of what small shifts you're going to make and then practice them consistently. Tony Robbins says massive action. And here's the thing is that when people hear massive, they get scared because their unconscious says, oh no, we don't want to make massive change. But when you do small shifts and you practice them consistently, you create massive energetic momentum. That is the difference. When you take massive action, it really does interrupt your nervous system. And then you stop because your unconscious says, "No way." And I want to just make this clear. It isn't about fixing you. You're not broken. It's coming back to coherence of who you truly are. So that when your thoughts and your emotions and your body and your actions align, the universe, life responds to you in that way with those shift in the thoughts and the emotions and your body and your actions. And it will only happen when you shift. It's not about changing the environment. It's about looking at what are you doing in the environment. The universe isn't rewarding you or punishing you. And I think this is one of the most important things I can say during this conversation. We have to get over this idea of reward and punishment by God, by the universe, by anything outside of you. There is no such thing as reward and punishment at the quantum level, at the energetic level, at the consciousness level. The only reward and punishment that comes to you is through you. You are the punisher or the rewarder. And when you no longer contradict yourself with this idea of reward and punishment and just accept that you are co creating your experience with your energy, with your frequency, that's when the shift happens. Now, that's all well and good, right? That sounded like a little science lesson, but here are some practical vibrational shifts that you can start to practice because action beats wishing. There is this energetic frequency, and we can't do it just by frequency alone. You have to take sacred action because the sacred action will tell you what your next step is. What does that even mean? Let's get really practical about this. For decades, I've been talking about manifestation, and there is a level of manifestation which most of you are not at, including myself, where you're sitting on the couch and you just decide that you want ice cream, and it shows up. Somebody rings your doorbell, and it shows up. That is a different type of manifestation that we are not at that level because we are in this 3D world where we don't believe that it works that way. It does work that way. And Tibetan monks have shown it over and over and over. However, manifestation is not for most of you sitting on a couch hoping, because it's not about hoping and wishing. It's about knowingness. And it isn't about waiting for signs because signs and intuition are different. Signs will come as you change your frequency and you start taking sacred action. And, there's this whole idea of meditation, which meditation is brilliant. I agree with it 100%. But if we only rely on meditation, right, this high frequency music and meditation, and then we avoid. Avoidance is another manifestation breaker. We avoid hard conversations. We avoid all the things that are uncomfortable for us. You have to start getting comfortable with being uncomfortable because as you move through uncomfortableness, you expand and you grow and you build that manifestation muscle. Real frequency includes action. That's sacred action. Well, how do you know what your sacred action is? That's what the sitting on the couch and the meditation is about, is to say, oh, what's my next step? And then know that when you step into that light of that footstep that's right there in front of you, the next one will be illuminated. You don't need to know what the next 5 indicated steps are. You just need to know what this one is. What sacred action are you taking today? That sacred action is aligned with this frequency. And so things like gratitude that's embodied, not performative. Okay, this is the thing, is that we are in this performance world, especially with social media. Everybody's out there doing their TikToks and everything on all those social media platforms. And frankly, I have a good time having fun in life. But performative is not gratitude that's embodied. So important. Breath, the life giving force that we all need to be alive on this planet, regulates your nervous system. It is such a overlooked part of who we are. And as you're going about with your sacred action, breathing regulates that nervous system. And movement, going along with the breath, clears all this stored emotion. Because if we don't move this beautiful container that we live in called the body, we continue to keep stored chemicals in our body from the emotions that are old and stale and not serving us any longer. And decisions, sacred decisions that honor your future self. What would your future self say about some of the decisions that you make? I'm going to tell you something. I've had this holiday thing where I have eaten as if I'm a bear going into hibernation, and it doesn't honor my future self at all. And you know what? Sometimes we do it and be aware of it and say, okay, I'm done. So things like sound matters. What are you putting into that tonality of this hearing facility that you have? Music matters. But here's the thing, no playlist will override your life built on resentment or exhaustion or self betrayal. You cannot put lipstick on those pigs. You have to always look inside. What is it that you're feeling? What is it that you're harboring? What are you thinking those private thoughts are that nobody can hear? I can tell you, we call it the universe, but it's God. If you want to put a name on it, God hears everything because the language of the universe and God and consciousness is frequency. Frequency isn't a shortcut. It's the standard, it's the language of the universe. So, how do you create transformation in this real world, this 3D world? As I said, overnight miracles do happen. They do, because you can shift your frequency like that. But most people don't because they don't understand that it's an inside job. I want to do something outside of me to get stuff. It's this momentum of this energy and this frequency. And every real transformation that I've ever witnessed, mine included, followed the same pattern. Number one, radical honesty, honesty of yourself and with yourself about what it is that you have been putting out as a frequency up until now. Taking emotional responsibility for every emotion that you have because emotions are driving this frequency. As you energetically align so that you can take sacred action. That's really it. And it's very simple, yet it seems to be challenging for people. Why? Because you're unconscious that you programmed your map says this is the way, this is the safe way, and this is the only way. That's why you have to get out of your comfort zone. You have to be uncomfortable to expand and grow and change your frequency. Now, I will tell you that most of these miracles were not overnight miracles, although sometimes they are. It's not that it's out of the realm of consciousness. It's just that you bring all the baggage with you and expect the different result by doing the same thing and having the same thoughts and feelings over and over. You know what they say about that? It's insanity. But they all do have one undeniable thing in common: momentum. So, if you understand this idea of momentum as these little sacred actions building into this massive momentum, to know that you are not chosen or unchosen. There is not an arbiter out there. You are the arbiter. And whatever comes your way is working in your favor. That's why I created this MP3. Everything is working in my favor. Because if you don't begin to accept that and acknowledge that, it either is or it isn't. It's not in between. It isn't sometimes it's working out, sometimes it's not working out. It's not. It rains on the just and the unjust alike. So you are either aligned or you're leaking energy. And if you're leaking energy every time you see something that you don't agree with, that isn't your personal preference, as Mickey Singer says, that's when you begin to shut down the flow again. So, is there any good news in here? Yes, you get to choose again every single day. If you are not on the path of receiving and seeing the reality that you say you desire, choose again. Choose gratitude. Choose knowing that everything is working in your favor because it is. So I want to say something that is happening on this planet as we speak. The future is frequential. Frequential. Oh, what a cool word is that. It's frequency. And this is true leadership. And so as the planet is shifting and rising into this knowingness that everything is frequency, things and systems will be broken down. They will be transformed and it will be uncomfortable for a whole lot of people. Because here's what most people don't realize yet, and it's becoming very apparent. When you raise your frequency, you don't just improve your own life, you stabilize rooms, you change conversations, you model emotional maturity. And this is not selfish, it's leadership. And I hate to tell you this because everybody wants a one time fix. This is a lifelong practice of conscious creation. Once you get on this path, you realize that this is how you be every day. This is a new way of being. And there is one ultimate truth. One. And this is the secret. So lean in. You're not manifesting into the universe, right? You're not manifesting into the universe. We act as if we put it out there, that it's coming back like a boomerang. You are expressing as the universe. You are a unique, individualized expression of the one, and we are all one. Therefore, you are always in Godness, in consciousness. You're expressing as the universe. Your frequency isn't a tool that you use, it's who you are. And when you stop micromanaging your miracles, right? You outline everything. I need it to be this way. I need it to be on this time. I need this. I need that. You just need to, if there's a needing, become this frequency and live that energy, because you can stop outsourcing your power at that point. You hold your power within. You are the power. You are the power. You can take on anything when you accept that you are the power from within. And then life meets you there. It just meets you there. So if this landed for you, don't just like this video. Practice something today. And even share it in the comments. What are you practicing today? Pick one area of your life and ask, what frequency am I actually broadcasting here? What frequency am I actually broadcasting here? And if you want to go deeper into this work with your money, your time, your identity, and your alignment, there's a link in the show notes so that you can continue this beautiful journey in this conversation, because wealth isn't a mindset. It's a frequency. And you're already transmitting right here, right now. You're broadcasting. So what is it that you're broadcasting? I would love to know. Share about it. Share this podcast, share this video, because it's so, so important that we, as we begin to up level this consciousness on this planet, we all begin to take complete radical responsibility, ownership, a revolution of our own success and happiness and desires. Queen of Magic out.